Hello, everybody, and welcome to DC Time. I am Dean.
Chris.
Thanks for joining us again. Glad to get together with Chris, and we are going to talk today. Chris brought an article here we're going to mention. We've been talking about, the same, what we always kind of talk about. We're usually finding comfort here from the Apostle Paul and his letters, highlighting the sovereignty of God. What a great message there. Chris and I was talking about different situations today, and it's like it come up that, man, we need to hear these things. And it's like, well, we know these things, right? God's in control. Say that all the time. We can read scripture that God's in control. We read them here on the show. I grew up hearing those things.
Mm-hmm.
If someone would have asked me that, I would say, yeah, I believe that. But I think there's some kind of a difference. It's hard to explain. It's like, we know that, but do we really know it? And do you really, and then it gets into faith and belief and things like that we can't really get our hands on.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're distracted all the time off of that, probably thinking that God really is in control. And we think he is. When nothing looks right or doesn't seem right, or it's not going the way you want it to go, or things look like it's a mess, God's still, obviously he's in control. He's in control of the mess. That's a big belief right there to say that. But we think he is. And there's reasons for all that. It's going to be this glorious ending. We're going to know love, true love, and know what we're really made for and what we're going to become. And all those things are going to happen for all of his creation. We just can't see that right now. So we're constantly struggling all the time.
Yeah.
But I believe that, just to state that, if you're new to the show or whatever, God's in control of all those things. So we're subjected to this world of sin and pain and suffering. Yep, God's in control of all that. There's a reason for it.
Yeah.
It's going to pay off. It's going to work for the good. That's scripture. You guys all know that. All things work for the good. So
Yeah, we've been hitting on.
we need to keep reminding ourselves. Of those things.
The renewing of the mind, the daily renewing
Yeah.
of the mind to these truths and stuff. And we've been hitting this stuff about we are his workmanship. We are his achievement.
Yeah, for sure.
The work of his hands. Father yearns for the work of his hands. We've been hitting on those things. We continually talk about his operation, capital H.
Mm-hmm.
This week I had an opportunity, a situation came together where my wife and I and two other people we love in my wife's family, we all got together and we were able to cut up and talk about our kids and so forth. And one of those ladies opened up and started sharing a difficulty and a struggle in her life with her daughter. And it was very apparent very quickly that this was very traumatic and a lot of tears, a lot of agony, not knowing what was the best advice to give her daughter, not seeing how to correct this. She was suggesting things to correct. For me, hearing this, my wife, began consoling her and trying to find those words that would help her. In my head, I do remember a quick little prayer, give me something that I can share. And my first thought was, this young lady I'm talking about, wonderful lady, loves my family, has done for my family. She has a great trust in Father. She and her husband, they go to church. They have a son that's a pastor. It's a wonderful family. And I thought, okay, there's my in right there. She trusts Father. And I remember asking her to stop for just a moment and back up a little bit from the picture of the mess you're looking at and ask yourself who's in charge. I actually said, who's large and in charge in this situation? And she nodded her head in agreement with me. And I talked about the work that Father is doing in all of our lives with every bit of his creation, the intimate work that he does. To our eye, there are times when we would think he's not working and that it's just such a mess. That is never a time to not think that he isn't working. He is working all the time. His operation continuously carries on despite what it looks like to his creatures. And I began to use some scriptures. Philippians 1:6, it started a good work in you. The workmanship. Job 14:15, he loves the work of his hands. And you could see she even said that at the end of that night, she said something had been taken off of her. She could tell. She thanked me, she hugged me, she told me she loved me, and that she was very grateful for that sharing. And I said, you know what, Jeannie, you knew it the whole time. I just reminded you of it. You knew who's in control. Now, she and I would not agree on a lot of other things. I'm not saying it's a bad thing or anything, but she regularly attends, and in that discussion, she kept bringing up that it would be something that the child could do that would somehow bring God back into her life. And I convinced her God never left that child's life. He's right there. He's doing his work. And we say that. We say we trust him. So
that's what's awesome, to be reminded of that.
Yeah. Especially when it doesn't look like it.
Yeah.
I think.
And then, what's so awesome about what Chris was able to do there, to find that common ground, point to something that is a belief by so many people. We say we believe he's in control. Do we really know it? Do we really believe it? Need to be reminded of that because of all the distractions. All these distractions come in, and then we're trying to fix everything, and everybody's doing that. We can all get caught up in that. So many times, what I appreciate so much about what Chris was able to do there, so many times those situations, then it becomes about, well, there's problems because of different beliefs. And that's not the problem. Everybody's in different places.
Yeah.
That's an article Chris brought. We might talk about that or whatever. We're all at different places. That's not the problem. God's got us all right where he's got us. So an ability to find some common ground, love somebody, repeat something that they know that or they believe that. Maybe it'll go back. It reminds me of thinking some of the things as I come on to things. It's like, oh, I've always known that. When did I know that? Maybe
I thought of that when you first opened the show.
Maybe I knew that though back. You have to almost go back to your childhood. Or something. Like that's when I knew it. It was always there.
I already knew that.
Yeah.
You and I've talked about sometimes a realization or a truth comes through, the fog lifts, and you go, I already knew that.
Yeah. But you're distracted in this world, so to speak, that might look good. It's a world to where it then helps solve problems, and you start thinking that's the answer, whatever that is.
Yeah.
Well, just do this, do that, and whatever group you're in or whatever you're a part of, you start putting, that's where the faith, you're distracted and you think that's what's going to fix it. And it's not these simple things. Oh, Father really is in control.
And my wife said something, she was very honest. She said, oh, what I wouldn't give to have the words to help you, And I thought, boy, that's how we are. I would love, lots of times when a loved one is hurting, boy, you want to reach in and say that thing. And so often there is no fix like that,
No.
Usually you've got to tell them you're going to be there with them as they go through this or whatever. But for me, it was to remind her that, hey, the one we put trust in, he's right there. Okay, so we can cling to that. The article that Dean mentioned, that I think it was the day after I got the daily email goodie, and this was from Clyde, and it was called At Different Places, and I thought, man, how appropriate from the night before. Clyde says, on our journey through this life, you and I may be at different places. Being at different places does not necessarily mean that either of us is ahead or behind of the other spiritually. It just means that the Lord needs to take us on different and yet at the same time similar paths due to the uniqueness of our personalities, love that line, upbringing, and influences. How unique are we with our upbringing, our experiences, our circumstances, the things that influence you? That makes us incredibly unique, as well as his own unique purpose in our lives, all as it pleases him. In our diversities, he works all in all. And then the two scriptures referenced, 1 Corinthians 12:18, but now has God set the members, every one of them in the body, as it has pleased him. That was the part I underlined, as it pleased him. What is he not saying there? Not that it pleases us, but it's according to his operation. And then 12:6, and there are diversities of operations, but it is the same God who works all in all. That is really great truth. And you and I have just continuously hit on this, his operation and that which he is doing. It's his righteousness that God sees when he looks at us. The righteousness of Christ, the redemption of Christ, the holiness of Christ. It's all his operation. So it was a wonderful moment, and I think my attitude has been changing ever so slightly for the past year about what I believe. And when the opportunity arises, what is the spirit I will step out in to share those moments? And in that particular case, I was looking for that thing we both agreed on, and that was the sovereignty of God. And I knew she'd respond to that. I knew that would strike a chord with her because I know this young lady, and I knew that would mean something to her.
Yeah, that's just a good thought too. When we're out there, there's so many people that are going through different things, and not everybody's able to express, their doubts or their fears or their pain or their suffering. They keep it all bottled in.
Mm-hmm.
So, when you are let in on some of these truths, it's good to continuously renew your mind, remind yourself of that, and then it's awesome to be in situations like that where you can be a help. You can find common ground with someone that's completely different, maybe in what they believe about God. They might have no idea what they really, think or know about God as Father. They might not have any idea what's going. They might want to question certain things or whatever. But you could be a comfort to them.
Oh, absolutely.
So,
yeah.
Anyway,
that was good.
Anything else?
That's all I had. I know that you finished the book, the expose of.
Yes, we can talk about
what the
that.
heck was that called?
The two natures.
Yes, the expose of the two natures. I think maybe next week that'll be what we dive into with some really good stuff in there. I appreciate it. You said you did too. So.
Yep.
All right, guys. Have a great week. Appreciate all the comments. Love you all.
See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.